Hi, you're here sewing with coding, and today's video, this is part 2 of the automatic buttonhole foot number 3A with the BERNINA 3 series. So in part 1, I showed you how to set up the machine and how to create your buttonhole. But what I didn't show you was the machine now remembers the size buttonhole that we made. So at this point, it doesn't matter where this little slider is, and you no longer have to hit the reverse to create more buttonholes this size. So if you made your buttonhole and you tested out and it fit your button perfect, then all we have to do, if you need to make a half dozen of them to go down a shirt or a dress or whatever, all you have to do is just start sewing. And it will replicate our first buttonhole over and over and over again. And we know this because we see it on the screen right here. The screen is showing us, it says auto. So that means it calculated the size of our buttonhole and it remembered it. So it can make that same buttonhole over and over and over again, as we can see here. And it will stop all by itself. And it'll make them the same size over and over again. So the perfect size. Now, let's just say if you tested out your buttonhole, and the size was either a little too big or a little too small. So what we can do then is we need to readjust our little finger, essentially. So we either need to move it up closer, further back, or move it towards you some more to be able to adjust your next buttonhole. That's why we always do a test buttonhole. But what we need to do, because the machine still remembers the original size. So what would come over here, we'll come over here and clear it out, and you'll see that clears out. So now we would have to make a new buttonhole, but we need to tell it the size. So let's say we'll just make something smaller. So we would stitch until that red dot and the arrow line up, tap your reverse, and then it will basically calculate the size of our new buttonhole, and you can see it's back at auto. So that's it. So that's part 2 of the best feature of the automatic buttonhole is the buttonhole foot is that it remembers, or it tells the machine, and it's able to tell the machine by the little sensor here. So when this is moving, you can see inside it's moving, and it's telling the machine how far it's stitching forward. So one, it knows how far it's stitched forward, so it can do this over and over again, but also it then knows how far to go backwards. And that's how it gives you such a pretty buttonhole. But like I mentioned in part 1, the most important thing about getting a pretty buttonhole is using the correct needle for the fabric you're working with. So if you're working with a woven fabric, make sure you're using a classified sharp needle. My go-to needle is a Microtex, and usually it's a 80-12. But if you're working with the knit, you're going to think I want to use a stretch needle or a jersey needle. All right, well, hopefully that answers the rest of your questions with the automatic buttonhole foot number 3A on the BERNINA 3 series. All right, happy sewing.